Well, clearly we have to appreciate today, as we should have done for a long time now, that Russia is a genuine victim of terrorism. That is not to say, of course, that Russia's response has always been very helpful, but Russia, as the largest country in the world and a major world power, suffers just like Western powers, even if its response is not always the same. So clearly this has come to the fore partly because of the Winter Olympics taking place very close to the North Caucasus, where much of Russia's terrorism emanates from, but also, I think more importantly, because it seems that somewhere between 10 and 20 people have lost their lives today.
Yeah, what can you tell us about the region in which this took place?
Well, this region, as I say, is not actually in the North Caucasus. It's roughly halfway between the North Caucasus and Moscow, shall we say, a little bit less than that, in fact. And really, in a way, it's outside of a Russian security cordon. So Russia has set up a very enhanced security operation around Sochi, around the area of the Olympic Games. But that is far smaller than the distance between Sochi and Volgograd. So what it shows is that Russia may have control of the radius that is extended outside of Sochi in advance of the Olympics, but it most certainly does not have control beyond that. And in fact, Sochi itself is just outside of the North Caucasus as well, deep in southern Russia. And what is truer than ever is that Russia simply doesn't have control of the North Caucasus and the terrorism that emanates from there, whether that occurs in the North Caucasus itself, as it often does, or deeper into Russian territory like this morning.
The Sochi Winter Games will mean all eyes, the spotlight really on Russia. It's a pet project for President Putin. How embarrassing is this?
It's incredibly embarrassing, but I have to say that it is also partly President Putin's own fault. Since he has become president, there have been between 70 and 80 suicide attacks on Russian territory. And that is partly because of the human rights abuses and excessive force that he himself has ordered as a response to the terrorism. So whilst we must concede, as I say, that Russia is a genuine victim of Islamic fundamentalist terrorism, we also have to acknowledge that Russia has exacerbated the problem considerably through its own relatively narrow policies in this particular area.
So how should the Kremlin be responding?
Well, clearly, what one needs to do, clearly you do need a large-scale security operation in advance of Sochi. So far as that is correct, but I'm afraid this is a longer-term problem. What one needs to do is to engage with the Islamic community. One needs to listen to what their needs are. Of course, there is a fundamentalist wing which desires for a single Caucasus or secession or a worldwide Islamic caliphate. But there is a moderate wing. There are all sorts of moderate Islamic groups which form a majority of Russia's growing Muslim population, which Russia simply doesn't engage with, because Russia, having been protected in some ways from this, or insulated from so long during the Soviet period, really doesn't have the experience to deal with this relatively new kind of threat for us. In the old days, Russia's main threat, as it saw it, was from the West, an invasion by the West in its own eyes. But nowadays, of course, the threat is from within, and Russia's sort of underbelly, the southern regions with a growing Islamic population, Russia's own population is decreasing, but its Muslim population is increasing, then this is a new threat and Russia is unprepared and inexperienced to face it.